integration without writing any code. And the second part will discuss on how developers can use low-code platforms to speed up the development process. So let's get started. As we all know, document generation is an essential part of any business. Reports, contracts, invoices, packing slips, you name it. Unfortunately, the data is often split between multiple systems. Keeping your company's visual identity throughout documents or using custom layout is complicated, as every system provides different customization possibilities. In many cases, employees revert to manually creating required documents and wasting hours of work that should be automated. Platforms like Integromat enable users to automate routine workflows with an easy-to-use visual builder and drag-and-drop functionality. Let's say you need to send out an invoice every month with a custom design for your customers. One option would be creating each invoice manually in Word or Google Docs. Another way is to set up a simple automation on Integromat using Google Sheets, PDF Generator API, and Gmail to speed up the document generation instead of the manual work. As a first thing, let's look at the template in PDF Generator API. I've prepared an invoice template, but as you see, it needs some updates. Let's add some space between the header and content. I also noticed that there is no customer email added to the invoice, so let's find it and add it to the invoice. Some additional formatting and updates, and I think it looks pretty good now. As the next step, we need a Google Sheet where each row represents an invoice. I have prepared an example that will be our database. The final step is to create a new scenario on Integromat. Let's find Google Sheets module and select Watch Rows action. This allows us to trigger automation whenever a new row is added to the sheet. At the moment, we will select one row manually to run the test. The next module we need is PDF Generator API. We will choose a template that we just prepared and set a document name that is automatically generated based on the value of invoice number that comes from the sheet that we prepared earlier. This allows us to map the JSON data from Google Sheets. We will use JSON structure and select which columns represent specific values, for example, invoice number, customer email, line item data, and so on. So basically anything that we made available in Google Sheet, we can map for the data field that is sent to PDF Generator API to generate the final document. The JSON structure is not limited and can be different for each template. The last module we need is a Gmail module to send the invoice once it is generated. We can use, again, the customer email address and invoice number from the Google Sheet. And then we can pick the invoice URL that was generated by the PDF Generator API to show the actual invoice in the email. So basically, that's it. So we can run the Integromat automation. PDF is generated. It is sent via email. And now we can check the email that was sent through the system and also open the invoice that was generated. So we can see that automation platforms are an easy way to introduce digital transformation in your company. Let's see what other tools we have to go even further. Low-code is a software development approach that requires few programming skills to quickly build an application through graphical user interface and configuration instead of traditional computer programming. Low-code tools enable companies to accelerate their digital transformation, as it is possible to create and deploy simple apps with smaller developer teams. One of such applications is Bubble. It's a low-code platform that lets you create interactive multi-user apps for desktop and mobile web applications, including all the features that you need to build sites like Facebook or Airbnb. But the downside of a low-code platform is that it is not as flexible as traditional programming language. And developers no longer have access to those programming language specific libraries, for example, for creating PDF documents, and they need to rely on the functionality provided by the low-code platform or use some kind of third-party utility API to solve their document generation needs. So in the ecosystem, there's a lot of different APIs available for PDF generation and PDF creation. Most of them convert HTML or Word documents to PDFs or allow filling form fields on existing PDF documents. These solutions have two massive shortcomings. First one is that we need additional software to edit the templates, for example, Word or Adobe DC. And we need to build additional logic for storing and versioning the template. With our PDF Generator API, we wanted to remove both shortcomings by providing a browser-based drag-and-drop editor to create document templates inside the browser without any additional software needed, and Web API to merge the template with the data from any software that you have. This way, the end user has a graphical interface to modify templates easily without additional development costs. So as a next thing, let's look at how we can use Bubble and PDF Generator API to implement a document generation functionality into a web application. Let's use a similar example as the first one with the Integromat. But we need to create a user interface where our customers can download the invoice. Similar to the first example, we use a template created in PDF Generator API. This template is missing a barcode for line items, so let's quickly add one and assign the SKU value to it. Now, let's look how we can use it in Bubble. One of the main features in Bubble is that database, which allows us to save relational data. I have set up an order and line item data structure with the required fields. I have also entered some example data, which allows us to save orders and line items for use of this demo. You can see that there are around 3 orders in the database. And as a next thing, we can start designing the user interface using Bubble's drag and drop editor. I have used their repeating component to list all the orders from the database, and also added 2 buttons to generate the PDF and open the editor. Once the user interface is ready, we can set up our workflow. Similar to Integromat automation, we can create a workflow that is triggered by specific actions. The first workflow is triggered when the Generate PDF button is clicked. The workflow performs the following actions. Take rows order data and convert it to JSON, then make a PDF Generator API request to generate PDF using a specific template. And as a final thing, we run some simple JavaScript to open up the PDF in a new tab. Now, let's see how the application preview looks and test our workflow. With just a couple of lines of code, basically, we just added a document generation capabilities to our Bubble application. To conclude this short presentation on how we can use low code and automation platforms to speed up our digital transformation, I want to say that low code platforms and APIs are becoming more prominent in the system. And companies, for example, can use this to solve their document generation pain with smaller investment of time and money. With help of tools like PDF Generator API and Integromat or Bubble, It is pretty straightforward to create customized document automation workflows without writing any code. So this kind of setup is very easy to start even with business people, which allows them to create and automate their daily tasks. When we look at that from the product management and developer side, then it seems that we don't need to build everything in-house. We can use third-party APIs to make our own products better and implement new solutions much faster than before. Thank you for joining me. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to contact me via email at tanel@actionreports.com.